All but one game has been played for Week 3, and like we always do on Mondays, we discuss the biggest takeaways from the current week. There were a lot of things that happened over the weekend, such as the 49ers beating the Giants by almost 30 points, the Steelers and Bears both starting out 3-0, and the Eagles and Bengals tying in the city of brotherly love. There were more injuries this week, and although not as severe as Week 2, some players like Tariq Cohen, for example, tore their ACL and are unfortunately done for the year. The Falcons blew yet another lead, and it is amazing how, as I record this, Dan Quinn still has a job. They have blown 3-score leads in back-to-back weeks, and I don't have a statistic for this, but I can't imagine there's been many instances of that in NFL history. Week 3 proved to be a critical week for some teams, as some are closer to a playoff berth or hitting X wins in what is usually needed to get to the playoffs, while others are looking for after the 2021 draft. But before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. And as always, the takeaways we do are in no order of importance, but the first takeaway from Week 3 is Russell Wilson is the MVP. Russ threw for 5 touchdowns against the Cowboys and has 14 touchdowns through the first 3 games of the season, which is an NFL record. He has been playing at an unbelievable level through the first few weeks, and if this keeps up, it's his award to take home. Josh Allen has been playing at an elite level, but Russ is playing at an even higher level. 14 touchdowns through 3 weeks is absurd, and Seahawks fans have to be pleased with how their guy is playing. He has the Seahawks at 3-0, and the offense has been clicking on all cylinders. They have put up at least 30 points in every game, with 38 being scored in 2 of the first 3 games, and there's nobody at his position, both Lamar and Mahomes included, that's playing at as high of a level as Russ is. 14 touchdowns through 3 games puts him on a pace for over 70 for the year, and while he won't be able to keep that pace, there's no reason Russ can't finish this year with at least 40 to 45 touchdowns. He only needs 26 over the final 12 games, which is a little over 2 per game, to get to 40, and 31 over the final 12 to get to 45, which is less than 3 per game. The Seahawks defense will need to step up and not give up as many points and yards, as Russell won't be able to keep this pace up all year, but for now, the Seahawks are a 3-0 team with the MVP of the league running their team. Their next 2 games are at Miami and home against Minnesota, and Russ can definitely pad his stats against these 2 teams. He could very well enter the Week 6 bye with over 20 touchdown passes and have the Seahawks at 5-0. He has set himself up for the statistical peak of his career and to maybe, just maybe, have a season where he wins the MVP and the Super Bowl MVP in the same year. The next takeaway is from the Buffalo Rams game. There was a point where Buffalo was up 28-3, and during that short time, people were being quoted as saying, "Hot take, the Bills are the second best team in the AFC." While they ended up winning the game, they did blow a 28-3 lead, and what can be taken away is 2 things. Number 1, the Bills are legit. They couldn't have built a 25-point 4-score lead against one of the best teams in the NFL if that wasn't the case. And the takeaway for the Rams is to never count them out. The Rams could have very easily packed it in, looked around on their sideline, and pretty much felt sorry for themselves and said, "Look, we're 3,000 miles from home, the Bills are kicking our rear ends, let's just run the clock out and fly back to LA with our tail between the legs." They obviously didn't do that and even took the lead at a point in time. When teams' backs are against the wall, like the Rams very much were today, this is when it tells how a team is truly made and what they are made of. The Rams proved today that even though they were down, they certainly weren't out. Buffalo, on the other hand, will learn from this and how to finish teams when they are clearly on top. There's no shame for either team in this game today because of how it ended. Had Buffalo not ended up winning, then we would be having a completely different conversation. Of course they did win, and the Josh Allen hype train is real, and the Buffalo making a deep playoff run is still real in the greater Buffalo area. Los Angeles, on the other hand, proved they can never be counted out and that no lead is safe against them. The Rams' next 2 games are against the Giants and the football team, and the Bills' next 2 are the Raiders and Titans. Each team could start out 4-1 or 5-0 in Buffalo's case, and although the chances are slim due to teams like the Seahawks, the Ravens, and the Chiefs, I would love to see these teams play again in Tampa in February. The next takeaway is, no matter how you slice it, Adam Gase, the head coach of the New York Jets, should be fired. The Jets, aside from a few plays from Sam Darnold, looked woeful against the Colts on Sunday to the tune of a 36-7 loss. The Jets have 3 double-digit losses to start the year, with each progressively getting worse. The peak of their season so far, or the best-looking loss they have, is a 10-point loss to the Bills back in Week 1. They lost by 18 points to the 49ers in a game where several 49ers went down with injuries, including Nick Bosa with a torn ACL. Sunday was brutal for them in a 29-point road loss to the Colts, as Xavier Rhodes had 2 interceptions, including a pick-6, and the Colts defense also recorded a safety. Adam Gase was brought in to be a great offensive coach and to aid Sam Darnold's development, and to put it nicely, he hasn't done that. Their next 3 games are home against Denver on Thursday night, home against the Cardinals, and at the Chargers. The only game they may win is home against the Broncos, and that's because of how far they have to travel on a short week, and because of playing Jeff Driscoll too. Other than that, I don't see the Jets getting many wins this year, and they very well could go 1-5 or even 0-6 in their division. The way I look at it with the Jets, and a lot of other teams for that matter, is this. Can they win a Super Bowl with Adam Gase? Can you, the viewer, see Adam Gase on a podium in Tampa or wherever the Super Bowl is in next year, holding the Lombardi up with Sam Darnold next to him as members of the Jets? The answer is absolutely not. That's not realistic, and it's just not going to happen. They should move on with him now to get the rebuild and search for another coach started. Gase should be gone, and the next coach, the one of Joe Douglas's choosing, should try and get Darnold some help before it's too late. And honestly, it may already be too late for that, but that's for another video. Adam Gase should be fired. The next takeaway is the Bears are good, but they're not championship level good. They're 3-0 and great for them. There's several teams that aren't 3-0 and they have a lot to be proud of so far. However, their 3 wins are against the Lions, the Giants, and the Falcons, and I realize teams can't control their schedules, they have to play what is given to them, but the Bears are beating teams that aren't very good and barely doing so. There are 7 seeds in the playoffs now, and with a 3-0 start, they only have to go 6-7 the rest of the way to what I think secures a playoff spot in 2020. With the extra playoff spot, I think we have a 9-7 team get in, and because of that, let's be honest here, the Bears will probably get in the playoffs. They have the Lions again, the Vikings twice, as they are 4-0 against them in the Matt Nagy era, which is probably 3 more wins there and 6 on the year. Having added those means they would have to go 3-7 for the remaining 10 games, and I think the Bears can certainly do that. Only one team can represent the National Football Conference, so there is no shame in being one of the other 15 teams in a given season. I just don't see any way the Bears would represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, as I don't think they're that good of a team. Their point differential is just plus 12 through 3 weeks with 3 4-point wins, and while wins are wins, they haven't been against great teams. They will be tested when they play teams like the Packers and Bucks coming up, but as of now, I think a legitimate takeaway is they are good, but not championship level good. And the next takeaway is the Packers are not only for real, they are legitimate championship contenders. They went down to New Orleans and beat the Saints in the Superdome and put up 37 points in the process on Sunday night. Aaron Rodgers is playing at an elite level and is the Rodgers from 5 to 10 years ago. The grumpy Rodgers we saw from seemingly 2017 through some of 2019 is gone, and it is back to the not just a chip on the shoulder, but a full-on boulder on his shoulder Rodgers that leaves defenses fearing what he can do. He had nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and that was without Devontae Adams, who was out with an injury. I said this last week, and I will continuously say it throughout probably the entire regular season, but I really do hope we have a Packers-Seahawks NFC Championship game, as the last time we had one of those, it was electric. For those that may not remember, Russ threw a game-winning touchdown to Jermaine Kearse in overtime, and at a point they were down 19-7. Anyways, the Packers drafting Jordan Love may have been the best thing they could have done for Rodgers' career, as he very easily could win a Super Bowl this year, and depending how healthy he remains, maybe even 2 and 3 years to finish his Hall of Fame career. Rodgers has just 1 title as of now, but that could very easily change before he turns 40. He could finish his career with 2 or 3 titles and ride off into the sunset, which would be a storybook ending to a phenomenal career. The last few takeaways are Justin Jefferson played out of his mind against the Titans and proved he can be a legitimate NFL wide receiver. The Vikings are done, which I'm assuming you guys already knew that, and this is amusing, but the Eagles are 0-2-1 and are half a game out of the lead for the NFC East. Also, the Browns are 2-1, but they are not legitimate contenders, as their 2 wins have been against a rookie in Joe Burrow and Dwayne Haskins. Good for them for being over 500 for the first time in 6 years, but with Baltimore and Pittsburgh in the division, they're just not going to go far in the playoffs if they even get that far. As good as Buffalo is, I do want to reiterate to not count out New England as long as Bill is their coach. Tom Brady played a great game, and the Bucs are now leading the NFC South through 3 games, so good for them. And the Lions beating the Cardinals in Arizona with Matt Patricia's job seemingly on the line is hilarious, and it's like a go figure or are you kidding type thing. And the final takeaway is the Houston Texans can still make the playoffs despite being 0-3. They had Mahomes, Lamar, and the Steelers to start the year, and pretty much every NFL team would have gone 1-2 or 0-3 for those games, with the exceptions of the Ravens and Chiefs and maybe the Packers at this point. The Texans are still very much alive and just had a brutal start to their schedule. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you ever have a video suggestion, please let me know. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps a ton. If you're still watching, I appreciate the time out of your day, and I always appreciate the support for the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.